All right, guys. So yesterday, I don't know what led us to this conversation about the Browns, specifically the topic of quarterback play. I mean, we end up on quarterback play often. We haven't today. But I mentioned that, I know especially Tyvis and Earl are, very optimistic about the Browns. And I said, I'm not with them on their optimism. However, I said I think the Browns have enough talent that if they got average quarterback play, then I could see the optimism. If you could guarantee me average NFL quarterback play, in other words, whoever plays quarterback is between we'll say the 14th and 17th best quarterback in the league next year, then I thought the Browns could potentially be around 500 or maybe even 9-8, right, if they got that. But then I said, I think their chances of getting that are 10%. So I'll put it to you. Two things. One, do you agree that if they got league, middle of the road quarterback play, obviously the last few years it's been hideous quarterback play since Baker, outside of the Flacco few minutes. A, do you agree with the statement that if they got it, they could be competitive, be, let's say, 8-9, 9-8, potentially, not a guarantee? And what percentage chance, I said 10% chance they'll get it, what percentage chance do you believe? Go ahead, G. Bush, start us off.
So, we're going to start this off. First of all, Tim, see, 10% is way too low. Here's why 10% is low. It doesn't have to necessarily do with the overall components of what you think the quarterback is by himself. The 10% needs to be raised because of the other things that are operating in concert with the quarterback. So, offensive line play, huge. Last year, bottom 3. We don't know how their offensive line is going to be this year. We can't say they're just going to be a top 5 line, but when I look at the resources they put in there, when I look at the draft capital, when I look at the free agency dollars and the guys where they've been at before and what their track record is, I have to say that it is an upgrade in terms of your offensive line.
It is, but I think a lot of people would argue there's still a decent chance it's a bottom 10 offensive line.
I think that they've raised their floor tremendously, where I think it's definitely going to be middle of the road.
Okay.
And say that.
All right.
All right. So offensive line is better. Then you go to the wide receivers. We talked about wide receivers a little bit earlier. They've invested high draft capital in their wide receivers. So I can't just tell you that the wide receiver is going to come out here and have 1,000-yard seasons, but I can also say that those wide receivers are going to be better than Cedric Tillman, Ja'Marr Thrash, Malachi Corley, those guys. And we've shown that if it's a first-round draft pick at receiver, we expect first-round draft picks to be what?
Really good.
Good. Yeah. So, okay, I'm not going to say they all pro, so I'll give you the receivers. I also look at the second-year players. I look at progressions. You want progressions from your second-year players. I look at Quinshon Judkins. He came off the injury. I was going to say he was going to start off slow, but by all accounts, when I'm seeing him play, he looks more explosive. He looks like he's quicker. It looks like he's in better shape. He didn't have an off-season last year. Run game is good. Harold Fannin Jr., who also will probably be your number 1 target, is going to hit his second year. I think they're going to use him a little more. And then here's the thing, too. I think the biggest part is you listen to Jerry Jeudy and what he talked about in Todd Monken's offense. Jerry Jeudy said it's night and day. The motions that they're using, the concepts that they're using. I think his concepts and what he's going to do puts the players in a better position, the guys that they have. And even if that isn't, you're going to have a top 10 offense, say it's middle of the road passing game. So I'm not even being over the top Duke and knee-jerk. I'm just saying better offensive line, better play calling, better playbook.
But that's all maybes, G. Bush. None of these guys are proven. There's not a lot of proven entities
I think I've been tempered
on the offense.
I think I've been tempered. I didn't say nobody was top 10. Yeah. I just said if you can just raise it, if you can get better than you had last year. I think you look at the roster, the advantages that you had this year, the progression that you had from the guys last year, and Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin Jr., and what the coach is planning on doing, that alone moves you up to a higher % chance of you getting middle-of-the-road quarterback play, and I'm going to go with a 40% chance.
Okay, I think that's
I think
it's a measured response.
That was very reasonable.
Jason Lloyd, what say you?
You have to separate the quarterbacks for me because they're not the same. So it's hard to put one percentage on 2 separate guys.
Well, yeah, I'm asking you to do that.
Because if it's Deshaun, I think it's higher than 10%. But I'll go back to what I said before. I don't see a world where I would want him back on this team. I think he should be gone already. So I can't see a world where I would want him back on this team after this year. How are you possibly going to hand him another contract?
Right.
So even if you get it to league average, is league
Right.
average good enough? No. Now
Well,
it's better than what they've got.
Yeah,
certainly.
That's another discussion. But for now, what's the percentage chance you would give of middle of the road quarterback play or better?
I mean, Deshaun, certainly he has shown 100 years ago in black and white television that he could do it, that he was elite. So I don't know how you can possibly think it's still in there after 6 years. But I would give it a higher percentage than Shedeur. I would probably put Deshaun in the 15 to 18, 20% range, and Shedeur, I'd probably be with you in the 10% range.
So what's your average?
I mean, if you want to put I think Deshaun's going to be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
So I guess I would put it in that 15 to 18%
All right.
range.
So Jason higher than me, which I was surprised by.
But I don't have any faith that Deshaun will stay healthy for 17 games either.
No, how could
so
you?
I don't know how you can put one percentage on it when you don't know for sure.
It's a thought experiment.
Yeah.
You don't know for sure. I'm going under the assumption that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starter, but I'm also going under the assumption that he's going to get hurt and that Shedeur Sanders is going to be up next at some point.
If you had to separate them, what would your percentage be for Deshaun and what would your percentage be for Shedeur?
I don't know that it would be much different, honestly.
Okay.
I got 40 for both of them.
He's got 40 for both. I've got 10 for both.
Okay.
I don't know. I actually like Shedeur more than Deshaun Watson. I'm going to say 15 for Shedeur and 5 for Watson.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing that what
15's not high.
I think the people will notice is if the Cleveland and you just say if you're just looking at the numbers, the reason I say 10 is low is because average quarterback play Geno Smith?
No.
What-
Not last year. I mean, at its best, Geno Smith. Last year, Geno was terrible.
I mean, Baker, right? Last year would be Baker.
He was, yeah.
Define average.
He got off to a great start and he fell apart.
Can we define average a little bit?
What stat do you want me to look at in particular?
Go with
QBR.
All right, QBR, fine.
All right, so middle of the pack last
So
year
who was 15th or 16th?
Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Jared Goff, 15, 16, 17. Sam Darnold was 19.
You're right, 10.
All right, that's QBR.
Yeah.
Give me. I mean, look, I can't take one stat in a vacuum.
All right.
Like those are pretty good QBR. Those are good quarterbacks at that level right there.
Yeah.
So,
what stat? you wanna
QBR
go
is
with?
not one stat in a vacuum. It takes multiple
That's
things
true. It
into
does take
consideration.
fine. Give us another stat. What stat you want?
give me. Let's see. You got touchdown to interception rating, something like that?
Give you touchdowns, and I could give you interceptions. Not a rate.
Give
Not
us
a,
completion percentage?
Give me completion
All right, let's go
percentage.
completion percentage.
15 Jordan Love, 16 Aaron Rodgers, 17 Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, 17. Matt Stafford was 17?
Dang.
I mean, these people are separated by less than 1 percentage point.
Okay,
Yeah.
He was at
All right.
65%. and
Give
we
us
were-
touchdowns.
Touchdowns.
touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes was 17. Lamar was 18.
Who with 18?
Lamar was 18, and Jordan Love and Bryce Young were tied for 15.
So that's 18. So that's
Yeah.
18 touchdowns.
Yeah.
18 touchdowns ain't that crazy.
No, 18th in touchdowns.
In touchdowns.
Okay, well, how many did they
18
have?
what touchdowns? Or 18th
They
in
ranked
touchdowns?
18.
How many touchdowns did they have?
Mahomes had 22, Lamar had 21.
Yeah, but neither one of them played the whole season,
Right,
though.
they were hurt.
Or
Good.
Mahomes
is
was.
hurt.
Mahomes
Okay,
was
so
hurt.
if you said
Mahomes played 14, Lamar played 13.
Yeah, right.
so, if you played a whole season,
Yeah.
you couldn't see either one of these guys throwing for 20 touchdowns.
I don't think either one's going to play a whole season.
First of all, I think it's unlikely that either would throw 20 touchdowns playing a whole season, but that wouldn't put you middle of the pack. 20 touchdowns. Mahomes was middle of the pack with 22, and he didn't even play a full season.
Okay.
So middle of the pack is probably closer to 25.
Well-
I just don't. I don't see
If you, how many games is it? 16?
17.
17. So that's a touchdown a game, basically.
That's more than that. That's like
It's
one and
like
a half.
1.4.
No, it's 1.5.
Is it?
20 if 25
Oh, 25. I thought you meant
would be
20.
1.5 basically.
25 is 1.5, yeah.
I mean,
That's a touchdown.
that's a lot.
I mean, that ain't crazy. That's
It's not crazy.
How many touchdowns did Shedeur Sanders throw last year?
7.
In how many games?
7 starts, 8 games.
Okay, so I won't even count the game. So that means he would be. He was on pace for 17 touchdowns, and he was also on pace for about 30 interceptions. But whatever.
I mean, if you did say he was like, you look at his stats for a year, he's like, okay, he was on pace for 17. Okay, well, if he's on pace for 17, and he gets better, surrounding cast get better, why wouldn't I think he could get like 3 or 4 more touchdowns?
Because I don't think he's going to play 17 games. I don't think either one of them are going to play 17 games.
Probably not.
Well, I got to extrapolate.
And by the way, what I don't know, because this will open a whole new can of worms. So we'll leave it there for now. But it's an interesting conversation about But do we all agree that if the Browns got this, if the Browns got that quarterback play,
oh yeah,
they would be a contender.
Sure,
no doubt. They'd be maybe even better than 8-9 wins.
They would be a playoff contender.
Yeah, they'd be a playoff contender.
I think that they would definitely be better than the Steelers.
Oh yeah, that's not saying. I think the Steelers are going to stink this year.
But we
say that every year.
We say it every year, but.
No, I don't think they're going to stink every year. I think they're going to be under 500 every year, like be 8-9. But this year, no more Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And they're old, and they got a 42-year-old quarterback who wasn't that great last year.
These teams starting over at coach. I want to see them do it by
so themselves.
The Browns. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.